Hello my creative friends, welcome to Rain Francis Art. My name is Rain. I'm out on this beautiful sunny day and hopefully I won't be attacked by mosquitoes. I tried to film this intro a few times and I had to stop because I kept going like this because the mosquitoes kept getting into my face. So I'm hoping that this is going to be the one. Today I'm sharing a video of me drawing Harpo Marx with charcoal on black art paper. I just love the Marx Brothers. I love their slapstick style of comedy. It's very witty, it's very fun, they're very physical, and it's very quick comedy. I've watched all of their movies. I really had no favorite Marx brother until I read this book. It is the autobiography of Harpo Marx, and after I read this book, I sort of thought about him as my favorite Marx brother. It's a great book, and I love watching all the movies, like I said. I hope that you enjoy this video. There's a bug right next to me. I hope that you enjoy this video, and if you do, please like and subscribe. And please leave me a comment. Have you done any of my tutorials? Do you enjoy the Marx Brothers? I would love to hear from you. So without further ado, before the bugs get to me, here's the video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
All right, let's begin drawing Harpo Marx. I'm going to start using my real Slate chalk pencil, and for this I'm doing some areas of his face. He's got some very light areas that are highlighted, and I'll be applying the white charcoal on those. But I wanted to start with the white chalk pencil because I think it'll be easier for me to figure everything else out. This is a rather detailed stencil that I created. And even though I created the stencil, I can still confuse myself with all of the areas that need to be chalk or charcoal. Usually I prefer doing a simpler stencil, but there were so many different values on his face from the photo reference that I found, and it's a pretty popular photo of him. I'm sure you could find it on an image search on the internet. I just don't want to violate any copyrights, so I am not including that. But my stencil, as usual, is linked in the description below, and I really hope that you try drawing this if you are a Harpo Marx fan, or if you're a Marx Brothers fan, or just a slapstick fan. I love this, I love the Marx Brothers. They were just so silly, but very clever at the same time. There are a few little areas here that I've marked out, and I am immediately going to apply my white charcoal pencil so that I don't lose those areas. Just the smaller areas, and then I'll come back in and apply the white charcoal to the larger areas after. Just while I have my pencil out and then it's super sharp, I'm gonna fill in the twinkle of his eyes. Oh. Bad rain pressing too hard. And I'm going to fill in just a few little details that need to be super white here. I pause often because I'm looking at my reference photo at the same time so that I don't miss anything. if you're trying to create a realism, a portrait of someone, I think it's very important to have a reference photo handy so you can always refer to it. Okay. So I'm going to just go back to my white chalk pencil and fill in the rest of his face. As I always say, I work in circular motions or large ovals. I don't do lines unless I want lines to show, because it doesn't blend very well if you do lines. These white chalk pencils are I whined about this in another video. They're kind of annoying because they get dull super fast, and I have 4 of them ready to go because the one I just used is already dull. This is so much better when it's freshly sharpened, but you have to sharpen them quite often, which I don't like doing. I don't like stopping the video too often because I get thrown off a little bit, but I had to just stop it right there because Charlie won't settle down. She saw a chipmunk outside the window and she went crazy. Now every time we go outside, she'll be looking for that chipmunk. I feed the birds outside, and I always leave a little bit of bird seed for there's a few chipmunks in the backyard, and I want to make sure that they have a little bit of food too, and they know when I come out. Within 30 seconds of me putting out the bird seed in that little area where they hang out, there's always 2 or 3 of them that are there eating. I'm just filling in a few little areas here where the value isn't as white as the white charcoal. Okay, I'm going to take my white charcoal now and I'm going to start filling in the areas of his face that are more highlighted. As I was saying before, see, I told you I get thrown off. The pets just throw me off balance sometimes and I forget what I'm saying. These real slate white chalk pencils, they're great for the shade that they produce, but they're a pain in the butt because they have to be constantly sharpened because they get dull and waxy. And they're very thick. They don't fit into a standard sharpener. So I have to do it by hand, which isn't a huge deal, but I prefer to be able to sharpen it with my sharpener, my mechanical sharpener. And like I said, I was whining about that in another video that they're a pain in the butt, but they give very good results. So I will stop complaining right after this. I actually ordered some more chalk pencils. The brand is Generals, which is the brand I mostly use for all of my charcoals and some of my graphite pencils. And they did arrive. And I'll show you if I can find them. Well, here they are. Generals multi-pastel chalk pencils. I used them when I was doing, I think it's a video that's coming up in September. I think I have it scheduled, of the Snow Queen that I did based on Tilda Swinton's character of the White Witch in the Narnia movies. I tried using them for that video and I didn't like them. I didn't like them. They were not this value whatsoever. They looked more like the value of the chalk that I'm using right now. And the reason I use, not the chalk, the charcoal that I'm using right now. The reason I use chalk is so that I can have a different value of white. So they were pretty much like a charcoal pencil, but more difficult to blend, and I had a hard time trying to return those to Amazon, let me tell you. Hassle-free returns is not always the case there. I wasted an hour on a chat with a supposed supervisor because they wanted me to pay for the return. And at that time, I was a Prime member. And when you're a Prime member, you should not have to pay for returns because you're paying for a premium service. And it's not just to see movies and TV shows, it's for, for purchases and returns. So in the end, they gave me my refund and they said, just keep the pencils, we don't want them back. Okay. And they gave me a $10 coupon. But, I should be grateful for that, and I am. But I wasted an hour of my life with these people just arguing. Then I canceled my Prime membership because you know what? It's not worth it. I'm not paying for the founder of Amazon or whoever he is going up into space. There's another tangent. Okay, I won't go into that. I'm almost done here, applying the white. He's got a white area on his chin. Okay, I did his hand. I think that's all the white that I have to apply. I'm going to start blending a little bit with a cotton swab. I'm just starting off with the cotton swab, even on the white charcoal, though it doesn't blend very well with the white charcoal. I'll be going back after with a blending stump. Speaking of deliveries, I have one scheduled. It's actually a pickup, and I'm hoping they don't arrive while I'm recording this, or you will hear a symphony of dog barking. Though it's so quiet in my area, I can usually hear a car coming from miles away. I love that. Okay, just blending it a bit, just for fun to see, how it's coming together. I've got my tortillon blender here. Just going to do the smaller areas of white. Okay, that's looking good. So I'm going to start with my HB, and I'm just filling in a few areas on his hat that are not quite as black as the rest. And for his hair as well, his hair, it's I think it was a wig. Crazy looking hair he had. I have Harpo Marx's autobiography, and for the longest time I never really had a favorite Marx brother. I thought they were all funny. And I'm talking about the main three. I'm not talking about poor Zeppo. There were 5 Marx brothers, but actually 6, but one of them died at a very young age, and only 4 of them went into show business. Groucho, Chico, Harpo, and Zeppo. But Zeppo was not a comedian, he was a vocalist, he sang. Let's see. But he also wasn't really interested in doing show business for his whole life. He became a businessman, and he was quite successful at it. I believe he had, was it an orange grove or a grapefruit grove? Something like that. So after I read Harpo's autobiography, which was called Harpo Speaks, I really started to like him a lot more. He played the pantomime, but he really had a lot to say in his book. And I was reading that he did play a pantomime because, well, the Marx Brothers all started on vaudeville. Their mother, Minnie, brought them all on stage. She had high hopes for her boys. I'm just taking my 6B, my darkest, to do his entire hat. So Minnie brought them to vaudeville. And Harpo actually started off with a few spoken lines. But he got a bad review. This is what I read. He got a bad review, and it hurt his feelings so much that he said he was never going to speak on stage ever again. And that's when he became the pantomime. He also said he knew he could never compete with Groucho and Chico's quick, witty style. So he made people laugh through his actions instead, and his facial expressions. And he was nicknamed Harpo because he played the harp. In his book, he said they were really poor growing up, and his mother wanted to expose all of her sons to the arts and music. Groucho played the guitar, but he was more of a bookworm. Chico played the piano. Harpo really wanted to play the piano, but they could only afford to send one of the boys to piano lessons, and Chico was the oldest brother, so he got the lessons. But Harpo started to play the harp because his grandmother used to play the harp, but he never took lessons. He kind of taught himself, and he said he would just play chords over and over, and somehow it came together. He said when he started playing the harp, he stopped being an actor and a comedian. So yeah, he was nicknamed after Harpo the Harper. Harpist? Harp player. Chico, which a lot of people make a mistake and call him Chico, but it's Chico, was nicknamed that because he was a ladies' man, and he was what they call him, a chicken chaser, chicks, chasing chicks. His real name was Leonard. Harpo's real name was Adolf, actually, but he changed his name, I think it was in 1911, to Arthur. And contrary to a lot of trivia out there, he didn't change it because of Hitler. He changed it because he never liked it as a kid. Okay, I think I have his hat done. You may or may not see on camera, I didn't fill it in completely. I just put in little areas because I'm going to grab my dollar store brush here. The black charcoal really creates a lot of dust, and you can use that dust to fill in the blanks. You don't have to completely cover it. See, there's so much dust here. So yeah, Groucho, who was the third son, his real name was Julius, and he was nicknamed Groucho because he was moody. I've also read somewhere that he was nicknamed Groucho because he was stingy, and he used to wear what they called a grouch bag around his neck to carry his money in so that people wouldn't steal it from his pockets. Not sure which version is true. And Gummo, the fourth boy, his name was Milton, and they nicknamed him that because he was sneaky and he would sneak up on his brothers like a gumshoe cop. And Zeppo was the last son. His real name was Herbert. Groucho said he nicknamed him after the aircrafts, the Zeppelins. But I also read that he was nicknamed after a monkey named Zippo. I don't know the real story. Alright, so I'm going to try to grab all of my charcoal dust here and clean that up a little bit. Instead of just blowing it onto my desk. My dog's, Charlie's right under me, and her stomach is growling. I don't know if you can hear that. Okay, I've got all the dust off. I'm just going to give it a little huff and puff. Get the rest off. So I'm going to start applying some of that very dark black, the 6B, to the areas around his hair. And he's got just a very bit of dark shadowing here in his eyebrows. He's got a line just above his eye that's very dark on both sides here. And his pupil is almost all black. I'm going to try to keep that white circle. I can always apply more white charcoal over that, but I'll try to keep that white. I'm going to take my HB again, because under, at the bottom of his pupil, it's just slightly lighter. I have a little tortillon blender here that I'm going to go over all of the dark little areas. And I'm going to actually take my chalk and go over a little bit on the bottom of his eye, because I think that the HB got a little lost there. And I'll just use a cotton swab to blend that. Okay. And I'll just fix up the shape of it with the 6B, and I'm going to put a line underneath. So we don't lose the shape of his eyeball. Okay, now I'm going to take my 2B, which is a little bit of a lighter value than the 6B, and I'm going to go over the rest of the areas of his hair. Okay, where else? Down here. And there was an area that I overlooked with the 6B on the side of his face here. And he actually has a very dark area, and I am drawing a straight line here. It's very dark. And actually this whole area here is going to be very dark as well, but I'm going to do that after. Settle down, Marlene. Poor Marlene. She's having a little bit of a dementia moment right now. A little lost. Here's my 2B, and I'm going to go in and fill in just the area around his eye and the rest of his eyebrow. Come here, sweetie. Oh, she's right up next to me. And this area just around the top of his nose here is a little darker. And over here on this eye as well, I'm going to fill in the rest of his eyebrow. and under his eye as well. Okay, I'm going to just take my chalk and go a little bit on the inside of his eye here. And just fill in some areas that I feel need a little more highlighting. Back to the white charcoal. Just going to put in a little bit of shading here. Tubi. There we go. His eye looked a little funny and I wasn't sure why, and now I know. The white was standing out too much there. But I have the white charcoal again. His eye needed to be a little more round. Maybe a little more white here too. I'm back to the 2B, and I'm filling in some values under his nose. Also above his lip. And under his lip. Below his chin here. And I'm just going to erase with my 2B this line, the outline of his face. There's a little line here that I missed. And one over here too. Okay. I'm going to grab a cotton swab and just go over all those areas that I filled in. And blend all those colors, those shades of his hair. I'm not doing his eye with the swab though, the cotton swab, because I need to make sure I don't lose my details. For that I'll use the tortillon blender. I'm going to take a little chalk and put a little bit in his eyebrow. And I guess I need a new cotton swab here. Just to differentiate the colors slightly. I keep saying color. Black is a color, but it's more of a shade here. Okay. I'm grabbing my brush and I'm just gonna blend in the blacks here. Okay. I think that's looking pretty good. The only thing I'm noticing is that he needs a little bit more highlighting in his hair. His hat comes out about, let's see, about here, like that. So I'm just going to put randomly little bits of the white chalk into his hair. And then I'm just going to grab a cotton swab and blend that all in. Just so that it doesn't look pure black. And the hat line too, we don't want the hat line to show. Because I am trying to go for a little bit of realism here, and if it's all black then it's just kind of flat. That's a different type of style that I do as well. I call it my minimalist look. But here I'm going for a little something different. And I think that definitely differentiates from the hat. So just to finish up the hat, I'm using my blending stump and I'm going to go over the edges so they're not so sharp. He does have a pretty ratty hat. I mean, he's dressed as a tramp, so a tramp in the sense of, you know, not what some people call women in a derogatory way. A tramp as in a hobo. Okay. All right, we're getting there. This is a long one. It's going to be a long one, I think. Now that we have his hat and his face done, or almost done, we're going to go in and finish up the rest of his ensemble. I've got my chalk pencil, and I'm going to fill in the rest of his hand here. Quite a bit of his wardrobe here is going to be chalk, so I'm just applying it very quickly because I've realized that this chalk pencil is extremely forgiving. If I go in and apply it with lines, I can still blend it pretty well without the lines showing, so I'm not going to say that I'm not careful, but I can be a little more carefree when I'm applying this chalk. So I guess I will recommend it. I'm so stubborn. I just want things to be easy, you know? And having to stop what I'm doing to constantly sharpen a pencil isn't easy for me. I do lose momentum quite easily. See, look, it's starting again to lose it. Okay. I think I have one more that's already pre-sharpened, and then I will have to stop and sharpen them again. Or I might get away with applying all the chalk I need without having to sharpen, I hope. We'll see. I chose Harpo as my subject today because on my blog, my weekly art date, Thursday Art Date with Rain. The theme is mirrors and reflections. And in the movie Duck Soup, there's a really great scene with Groucho and Harpo. Where Harpo is dressed up as Groucho, and they do a mirror scene, basically. Harpo is trying to trick Groucho into thinking that he's actually looking in a mirror. And he mimics everything he does, and it's so well done. So well done. Okay, I'm losing. Let's see if one of these will work. Okay. Alright, there's a little bit here. Actually, years later, and I don't know if I think it was on the Lucy show, Lucille Ball on one of her shows. She does the mirror scene with Harpo, and she does it so well. She even does this crazy face that he does. Lucille Ball was another wonderful, genius comedian, I think. I've drawn her a couple of times. My friend Phil from the UK, he loves Lucille Ball as well, so I drew her and sent him a card. It was, I think it was it the scene where she's in the chocolate factory? She was so good. And if anyone knows the American comedy show that was on for I don't know how long, 6, 7, 8 years, The Nanny with Fran Drescher, you can really see that Franny the nanny was highly, highly influenced by Lucille Ball. I'm almost done with the chalk pencil, and I'm picking up every single one to see if I have any left in it. I don't think so. No. Oh, sorry about this, folks. I have to sharpen. Okay. Just part of the drawing process. Let's see if I can finish this up, though. Oh, that's so much better. All right. I'm just going to sharpen another one because I might need it for the face again if I want to reapply a second layer. I'm going to see. But at least I know I have one. All right, now I'm going to take my very dark 6B and I'm going to fill in the extremely dark areas of his coat. So yeah, the mirror scenes, they were really good, and they are on YouTube. The scene where he's doing the mirror with his brother Groucho, and also the one with Lucy. I'm going to leave the links in the description below so that you can enjoy that comedy, because I don't know, I don't think I'm old-fashioned too much, but I think that comedy was better back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. I don't know. There's just what people think comedy is now. I mean, I love modern comedy too, but it just seemed a lot better back then. I don't know. I wish you could be here in this room, my friends, because all 3 dogs are snoring. And so is my cat Oscar. The other 2 cats, Leo and Dana, are in the kitchen. They're sleeping in the sun by the window in the kitchen, but all 4 of these pets here are all snoring. It's a symphony of snores. It's very cute. Let's see a little bit here. I have seen every Marx Brothers movie. I even saw some of the television shows that they started individually. A lot of them failed. But Groucho's show was on the air for quite some time. He did a show called What's Your Line or What's My Line? And he's so quick with the jokes. The only other comedians that I've ever seen so quick, this is my 2B, and I'm going to fill in all of the rest here. And while I'm at it, I'm just going to erase some of the outline lines with the 2B. So yeah, the only other comedians that I've ever seen that are so quick with the comebacks and who always seem to have a joke, there's Rodney Dangerfield, who is so quick with the comedy, and Joan Rivers. Oh my gosh, Joan Rivers. If you want to ever have a great laugh, go on YouTube and look up Joan Rivers on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, and oh my gosh, she is so quick and so funny. And Groucho was like that. He was just, you could say anything to him, and he always had a quick comeback and a joke. Always, always, always. In most of the movies, Groucho had a little bit of a sidekick, and it wasn't one of his brothers. It was a lady named Margaret Dumont. She always played, I don't know, the wealthy widow who Groucho's character was always trying to get to marry him because he wanted her money. But he would always insult her, and she was wonderful too. She was funny. Are you a Marx Brothers fan? Do you like that kind of comedy, the slapstick stuff? Do you have a favorite Marx Brother or a favorite movie? One of my favorites is A Day at the Races. You know, Chico Marx was famous for playing, you know, an Italian with an Italian accent, and he did it so well. I read his autobiography as well. Or actually, it wasn't an autobiography. I think it was written by his daughter. she wasn't too fond of her Uncle Groucho, that's for sure. Kind of says some nasty things about him. Okay, let's see. Do I need any more? I'm just going to go in and start blending now with a cotton swab. I'm starting with the chalk. And I'm just going to go over the white charcoal as well a little bit, but I am going back and I'm going to blend everything with a blending stump. When I first started to draw with charcoal on black art paper, I would never fill in these areas. I just said to myself, well, what's the point? It's black paper, right? And my drawings I wasn't as happy with them as I am now, because I realized that this black is so much different than this black, and it's important to fill it all in. I mean, you could go for the minimalist look, but I think it looks a lot better when you fill it all in. Well, Jack just got up and ran to the front door. Don't know if that means my courier guy is there, but guess we'll see. Guess not. He just wanted to stretch his legs. Groucho Marx had so many great jokes, and it's hard to remember them all. And the book that he wrote, I think he wrote a book, and then someone wrote a book about him, and I read both of them. The book that he wrote was more of, mostly comedy, a lot of one-liners. It was a good laugh when you read it. And he would throw in a little bit about his family now and then. But it was more of a sort of a gag, entertaining in a funny way. Whereas Harpo's autobiography was very well written, and it showed that Harpo was quite an intellect. Okay, I'm going over the black areas now. I'm going to try to do the 2B areas before I start the 6B areas, just to keep that shading, keep the values the way they are. Okay. It's coming together, isn't it? I love seeing it come together. So much fun. Now I'll just go over all the 6B areas and get everything all blended well. Okay. I think this is looking really good. I am so happy about this so far. Sometimes when I start my charcoal pieces, I always wonder if I'm going to get it right, or if I'm going to not be able to get the eyes done well, or the mouth. That's happened to me. I'm just taking my cotton swab that has a lot of the dust on it, and I'm going over the sides where I can still see the white outline. Okay, let's get all that off there. I'm going to take my paintbrush and just soften everything up and blend it all together. All this does is it kind of fills in the blanks if you missed a little spot. Now, I've got my blending stump here that I use only for white charcoal, and I'm going to go over all the white areas and I'm going to gently blend in circles. And I'm kind of, as you can see here, I'm blending a little higher up so that it hopefully blends well with the chalk, and I'm going to try not to touch the black areas. And if I do, I'm wiping it off right away because I don't want to bring any of those black shades into my white areas. Harpo was quite the family man, though it took a long time for his wife to convince him to make a commitment to her. He was terrified of commitment, but she didn't give up on him. She was in love with him, and she finally convinced him it would be worth it to marry her. And he admits in the book it was. They adopted a bunch of kids, and they had a lot of animals. I love reading biographies of people when they say, you know, we had dozens of dogs and dozens of cats. And he wrote that they even had a monkey that they adopted because it needed a home. They built an aviary in the backyard, and they had over 100 birds. Isn't that wonderful? Okay, I really like how this is looking. I'm going to take, let's see, my little tortillon and go over the very white areas of his eyes. Just so they blend a little better. And just a few finishing touches. A little more white here. And I want to make his pupil a little rounder. I'm slightly putting a little white up here for a little contrast. And here too, just for a little contrast. And I want to make this sparkle. Oh, I did it again. I did it again. Okay, that's why you don't wipe that way. Learn from my mistake. Okay. And I wasn't even pressing hard. At least I don't think I was. There we go. I'm going to blend around there a little bit because I feel like it's a little too big. There we go. Okay. Just a little finishing touch here. I'm going to add a little more chalk. To some areas of his face. Especially where the white comes in, because I don't want my outlines to show. Another thing that I really, really love, Charlie, settle down. Another thing that I really love about Harpo is that he was a painter. He was an artist. And in his book, he shows a few of his paintings, and they are so well done. He did a self-portrait of a clown, and it was really, really nice. If I were a collector who had lots of money, I would want to buy some of his art. Really, really well done. Alright, just want to try to blend this a little better up here, because I'm seeing the line. And how about a little more white? That might get rid of those lines. Blending stump. Okay, well that's not too bad. Just going over areas where I feel need just a little more blending, and then we can call this finished. All right, I'm so pleased with this. I really, really like this one. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, please like and subscribe, and let me know what you think. Let me know if you've done this. Show me a link so I can go and check out your art. And please, please, if you want to, come and join me every Thursday on my blog, rainfrancisart.com. I have a weekly art date. It's got a theme to it. It'll challenge you. You can meet other artists. It's so much fun. Thank you so much for being here. I really hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time. Bye.